Thank you so much for the organizers for inviting us to be here and to share from our experiences and understandings about how to work with families. As said, my name is Mia, and I have been working, I think you, Jaakko, you left 1998 from Western Lapland, and I went there first time 2001. So we were just kind of passing each other there.
Yes. And my name is Jaakko. As said, this is the first ever time we present together. So I ask your mercy if our dance is not going so well. So please help.
Yes. But what we have been doing is that when we got the headline, how to discuss with families, I immediately thought that what can I say to this? Because of course and obviously families should be asked this question. And then I remembered that 2017, a family and a team who were collaborating together during 5 years in the family crisis, they wrote together an article that was published in a Finnish journal of family therapy. And this family, it had a daughter. She named herself as Marlene in this article. She was 14, 15 when she started to have experiences defined as psychotic. So they contacted to Western Lapland Healthcare Services, to mental health services, and they started to work with the team, and the collaboration lasted for 5 years. So what we are doing here is that Jaakko is sharing from his point of view, and I'm sharing from this article the families and teams' experiences. But before we go there, I would like to say a few words about the nature of the work and the premises that we have in that, because when we think about the how do we speak with families and how do we talk with families, as has been mentioned yesterday and today many times, it really matters what is our worldview into humanity. In Finnish, we have the word ihmiskäsitys. It doesn't translate very well. I haven't found a proper word in English, but it is, I think the closest one is the worldview. So the understanding that we are all born into the web of relations. So when we are meeting people in their crisis, we are stepping into the stream of their life, into the stream of events in their relational realities. And I think we need to honor this by inviting those relationships to be part of the care process, to be part of the treatment process. And also I want to say a few words about the language. I use the word treatment and care. I know the word treatment in English language is sometimes it has a kind of a bit negative connotation because it can be seen as a objectifying treatment from someone towards someone. So care would be, in other way, the more proper word for me, but I use the both words here. So, when I started to work in the mental health services, I didn't start from the family therapy point of view. I was a psychiatric nurse, and I was invited immediately to work with families as a part of the team. And this was based on this very basic understanding that we all live in our relationships. And then there is another thing that how do we define the suffering, the humanity that appears? How do we define the psychosis? It has many different dimensions. And how do we talk about these things in our services? I think one of the very key tasks for leadership is to create spaces for people to discuss about these things together. What is their worldview regarding the suffering? How do they define the psychosis? What is the causality into that? and so on, because what we believe is humanity about, that is guiding our practice. And it is manifesting into doing something. And then we need to think that how do we structure the doing? What has been done like you did in the 80s and 90s before I got there. You were thinking that what is this about? And then you were formulating the structures to support the dialogic practice. And then again, of course, we need to think and discuss that how do we feel about what do we think about the role of families and networks? What is the role of relationships? Our families, and of course, particularly in a care and treatment processes, are families and networks resources, or are they obstacles for the care and treatment? Are they something we need to be fixing? And again, as Klaus was yesterday saying, that what kind of knowledge in general do we appreciate in service delivery systems? Are we looking only at the data, or are we appreciating the understanding that comes from the people's experiences of working and receiving care?
What we are going to present here is the ideas about this kind of prescriptions to myself, what to do when we meet with families. Yesterday, Klaus gave a marvelous presentation of the idea of need-adapted care. Many times it said that it was in the beginning of integration between individual therapy and family therapy. There could be also another way to say it. And the other way is that the need-adapted approach allowed the families to enter the treatment. In my mind, it's not so much an integration, because working with individuals, you do not need to do anything. Open the door of your office and you have clients coming there. But immediately starting to work with the families, you really need to know and to be convinced that this is worth doing, because there is so much extra. Yesterday we had lovely reflections after the plenary by 4 ladies. And it was very moving conversation, because that reminded to me something that happened 40 years ago in my career. When I started to work as a clinical psychologist in this small Kerobudas hospital, there were about 40 people who had been living their lives there, who did not have resources to go out without support. And what we did, we connected with all their families. And meeting with the families, and I could say especially meeting with the mothers of the families, has been most thoughtful experience for me as a clinical psychologist. And I think that what I'm doing, I'm repeating of that lesson what those mothers taught us how to deal with the idea. One of the ideas that appeared was this question of traumatic experiences. They came, and what they started to talk about, they talked about what happened when our son got ill. For instance, in one situation, it was, let's say his name is Matti, who had become ill 19 years ago. And then we connected with the family, with the mother who was alive. It was very, very tension-loaded situation, but she came and started to speak. And when we tried to speak about the problems in the collaboration between the family and the ward, mother didn't follow that, but she started to speak about those issues that happened 19, 20 years ago, and while doing that, she started to cry. And it was not only a cry, it was an overflowing of tears when she spoke about this. We started to organize meetings, and what happened was that those meetings went on perhaps every second, every third month, and this continued. She came there and was crying. After 3 years, in one meeting, we were sitting and someone started to wondering if something is different here. And some other one noted, yes, mother is no longer crying. And I think that this idea of having the possibility to go into the very traumatic experiences and speak and share, that's what happens in a crisis. And we need to adapt our steps to that. Of course, the most optimal way to start the family meeting is to organize the meeting, first meeting, immediately after the family makes contact. And immediately has been decided to do it in a first day, because if you meet in a first day, people are in their emotional turmoil without having the time to make a rational explanation what this is all about. And it really has been proved to be the most optimal way to mobilize the resources of the clients. And when you are in this kind of situation, there is no need to do anything. There is the need to sit down and start to listen and share what people are telling about. And for instance, many times, of course, in the beginning of sessions, families have questions, what is it all about? Now you need to have a diagnosis and tell what to do. But in the end of the session, they have less these questions. If they have a feeling that they have been listened to and respected. And in this way, we can increase the possibilities of tolerating uncertainty of the crisis. To be there, and of course, in psychotic crisis, what surprised us in the beginning when we were not going into the medication, especially in the research project that we had, many people were not psychotic in the end of the meeting. And we were thinking that perhaps it was the thing that you had an experience, that you have been listened to, that made possible for that time to be there without this experience.
So I was translating this directly, of course, from the article, and they are using the very ordinary language. So you can clarify if the translated version seems too weird. As soon as Monday morning dawned, I called the youth psychiatric outpatient clinic, and my panic was heard and responded. I don't remember if it was that afternoon or the next morning, but they responded quickly. The three of us, mother, father, and daughter, arrived at the polyclinic and the therapy sessions began. In the beginning, we had up to 3 sessions a week, which was excellent to support us parents in this new situation. The team who worked with them for 5 years was psychiatrist Birgitta Alakare, nurse Sirkku Maikkula, nurse Riitta-Liisa Heikkinen, and psychologist Elina Löhönen. Marlene was writing and telling about the same situation. I was living in my own world. The hallucinations were all the sights and sounds, all the things I heard and believed. One evening I walked to the woods next to our house to follow the sounds and images because I felt like an invisible metal wire was pulling me into the woods to see the hallucinations. And the voices and hallucinations were people, the students who had been bullying her for years. The voices were also so strong that it was impossible to resist them. I was absolutely sure that I was being watched from all sides. So much time passed that my parents called the police and they checked all the nearby waters in case I have drowned. When my parents found me, I told my father that I hear voices. My understanding is that after this, my parents called help for us. Team, remembering the same situation. Marlene's mother called one Monday morning and told about her daughter's fears. Sirkku understood the seriousness of the situation and the first appointment was arranged for the same day at the outpatient clinic. The meeting was attended by Marlene, her mother and father, Sirkku and Elina. At the first meeting, Marlene herself was unable to say anything. Her parents were worried and concerned. They were ready to do anything to make their daughter feel safe at home. Our aim was to create a safe enough situation for everyone by arranging meetings often enough. All family members were given the phone numbers of the team members and the 24-hour emergency number, and this was in mental health services, not in a general ER. In a crisis situation like this, it is important to keep hope alive. At the first appointment, Birgitta was consulted and she was advising us to give 4 to 5 tablets of sedatives to take home to ease the anxiety a little and keep the family going until the next appointment.
And the second idea is to meet with those who can do it and do not wait that everyone are possible to participate. because family relationships guarantee that everything that is spoken about has also its effect to the other family members who are not there. And of course, it's very advisable to invite those voices who are not there as a part of the dialogue. I myself, I'm used to make this formulation. What about if your sister would have been here with us and heard everything that we had taught? What would she say? What would you respond? And the idea is to having dialogue. If not here, you have a dialogue in your inner dialogue that start to be part of the dialogue and the family. By this kind of questions, you become more comfortable or more friendly with those other voices in your family, even if you would be in a situation of tension or conflict.
So the family also had 2 sons, and a mother is writing, the therapist suggested involving the brothers more, but we as parents were a bit reluctant to do. We felt we were protecting the boys from unnecessary pressure. The brothers were discussed a few times, but in hindsight, I think they should have been more involved as well, to increase their understanding rather than create some sort of unspoken divide between the children. This is something we have now discussed and gone through afterwards.
In the crisis, of course, we know that you need to have meetings very intensively, and sometimes even every day or every other day. And the idea in the very first meeting is to listen to the family and their concerns, not to aim at finding solutions. And what is most important seems to be allow the emotions to be there and actually also encourage some of the emotions. Many times we have been hearing here also, and for instance in one video that Val Jackson showed today, that people say that there are issues that they have not been talking about. And now when we are together, so allowing those emotions come there, it's a way to, like a door to the topics and issues that we have not been speaking about. And do not focus on explanations and questions that would explain the crisis, but ask about the experiences and feelings, concerns. The idea of the conversation is to follow the stories of the family members, not to guide the story with our questions. So I could say that being first trained as a systemic family therapist, early 80s, long time ago, we were trained to make interviews and make circular questioning, make solution-focused questioning, and so on. And nowadays, my idea of the meeting is almost the opposite. It's the idea to be there, to respond to the things that people say and encourage them to go further in what they say. But responses are not answers to questions or explaining why this has that happened. Responses are recognizing the other. And all comments are respected and accepted so that everyone could sense that they are respected, although thinking differently than others in the family. And the aim on the whole is to have dialogue, not to change the family. Perhaps a bit on the idea of emotions. I think that, of course, there has been a lot of change of my own understanding of the family meeting, moving from the idea of focusing on the family system and having the idea of collecting the narratives of the people with an idea that there is not one narrative, that there are as many narratives, as many families as there are people speaking about it in the early 90s. And now I think that there has happened a lot of change in this in respect of 30 years ago. Even if, of course, being very important, it's very important to see the idea that respecting all the stories that people say, but I think that what is more important is to have this possibility of sharing those emotional experiences that people have. And doing that, we do not aim at finding the psychopathology of the individual nor the family. This is a challenging task. For instance, being myself family therapist, we are so easy, we start to make a categories. What is the wrong with this family, and what are the function of this and that problem for the family, and coming into the dialogical way, following what happens there. It means a shift that I do not have a definition in my mind that I'm speaking with a schizophrenia patient or some patient. I'm only speaking with human being. And when I'm speaking of human being, my interest is my focus is on the curiosity of understanding everything what has happened and how everyone is seeing this and that happening. Do not know better than the family what is best for them. I think that this is many times in situation, especially when we are working in the services, because we have our models of care, how do we think that we need to go, and we so easily propose this to the model of the family, and this is challenging to revise in our practice. And this is done in the situation that we need to use our professional knowledge. We need to know about the risk of the situation. We need to have a kind of a diagnosis. If someone is having psychotic ideas, we know that not everything is spoken explicitly. If someone is in a deep depression, it may be a situation that there is a risk of suicide. If someone is not eating, there is a risk of dying. And all these kind of ideas as a part of our being present in our professional voices. There is an example, how mad are you? This was a family that contacted. I was working in the university psychotherapy clinic in Jyväskylä. And one day a young man, 33 years of age, called me and said that I'm calling you because my mom asked. And yesterday I'm in a hospital in other city in Finland, he said. And yesterday they had a meeting in the hospital with the staff. And he said that this meeting was so terrible. And they asked, could they come and meet with us in psychotherapy clinic? Already in the phone, he explained that the family is himself, her sister and mother and father who have separated 20 years ago, and they cannot tolerate each other in the same room. They are living in a chronic conflict, but the father had promised that he will come and help the son in this situation. Then I thought that perhaps it would be good to first meet with him and the mother and the sister, and we had a meeting with them. Then we had a second meeting with him, with the sister and the father. And it was just the third meeting when they came together. And the third meeting was extremely tension-loaded. The sister, when she came into the room, she was only looking in the floor. I sat down and said, this is so terrible. This meeting should have been 20 years ago. And sometimes after, the mother said the same, that this meeting should have been 20 years ago. And especially the comments of the small sister of this young man was very critical towards the father, with all the silly things that he had made when they were children. I became a bit worried, and I asked the father that, how does it feel to you? It sounds that there are a lot of critics what you have done. Is it okay to go on? And he said that yes, this is terrible, but now we need to go on. And then we did. And after this short commentation, it became a bit more relaxed. And then when we asked in the beginning, how was this conversation for you? And they said that this is so strange. In the meeting that we had in the hospital, the doctor only had an interest how mad I am and how disturbed our family is. But here, even if the father used the concept, even if our life is a hell and we are so deep in conflict, we have a sense that we have been listened to and respected to. And actually we met all together 1.5 years, and they always repeated the same. This is so strange that you are in a conflict, but still you can have the feeling that you have been respected too. We are not looking for what is it all wrong there. In the meetings, please. In the meetings, there is the idea of being transparent, so that everything involved, the planning the care, is done openly while everyone is present. So this is a very important idea of mobilizing the resources of the family, that the planning of the treatment is not happening outside the meetings, but the system comes into the family meetings. And in this way, the system of care and the family sessions are integrated to each other. It's good to be active, to share your comments with your colleagues. Speak about all the issues in treatment planning openly, the medication, the possible idea, if there is some idea that there would be need of compulsory ideas. Use the time to reflective comments with your colleague, in which you share your own emotions to what has been spoken about. But this is a very sensitive moment. We even have had a research in which we realized that this is the most stressful moment for the family members when the professionals are speaking with each other. So it's of course very important to have stress to learn new issues, but it's very important to not have all too high stress. So speak in a very sensitive way about your comments to be possible to be listened to.
And also to add here that it is one of the most crucial things in the system is, of course, the training. And when we think about the use of reflections, we are learning that in our trainings, where we are sharing our own stories in our family of origin process. So we get the experience of how it is to be invited to trust, how it is to be invited to share from your life narrative, and how it is to have a response as a reflection to your story.
The understanding of us about the length of the process is often different compared to how the family wants. Perhaps many times we think to stop earlier than the family thinks about. And it would be very important that we can organize our system of care, that we can guarantee the psychological continuity. And when we work as teams, so it's very important that we do not change the team at one point, but we can have new members in the team so that some other members continue the care, and that way we can guarantee the continuity. And always working as a team is a very good idea in the critical moments.
So with Marlene and her family, the same team worked there during 5 years, and they were later looking at the meetings, the numbers in it. So during the first 2 years, they had 69 family meetings, and they decided at some point that Marlene, she wanted to have her own times, her own meetings. So one person from the team started to work on an individual basis with her. Mother is writing in the end of the article, during the 5 years of therapy sessions, our family has faced other challenges, and I strongly believe that we have coped so well because we have had our daughter's therapy sessions going on all the time, and things have been dealt with immediately and articulated in an understandable way. I feel that as parents, we have been 110% committed to this process.
Perhaps we can skip this. Mm-hmm. I thought that this is more or less the final part. I thought that I could try very shortly to show a piece of a film or some ideas. This is a session that happens in one seminar, and I only thought to very shortly show a kind of an example. What does it mean to follow the stories of the clients? What does it mean to invite the voices, and what does it mean to speak among the people? And I'm not going to tell anything about the situation, but only to show these pieces.
Is helpful. No.
Pela expectativa que eu tinha de ouvi-la e de poder cuidar desse, eu estou imaginando, desse meu desconforto. Mas acho que a gente pode cuidar disso de outras formas.
So I'm very curious to hear how was it for you to come here today, and do you have some specific expectations for our meeting today?
Bom dia, eu me chamo Elenice, sou a mãe da Amanda e a mãe da Aline. Sim, eu estou sempre esperando uma resposta, porque eu tenho duas filhas, no qual as minhas duas filhas passaram e continuam passando pelo mesmo problema. As duas ficaram internadas no país com depressão, porque desistiu de viver, a Amanda, e a Aline, que teve um surto, não sabia nem quem era. Então, para mim, como mãe de duas filhas, é muito difícil não ter uma resposta pelo que aconteceu.
This is my experience that when we make an open question, people immediately start to speak of the most essential issues in their life. You do not need to have a concern if they misuse or if they do not speak about the issues. The next comment of the mother was, how did I fail as a mother? Then I will show a piece about in 25 minutes in the session.
So you were saying that
Mas se nos apoia, ela foi quando a minha neta ficou doente, foi quando a Amanda foi internada, aí passou algum tempo, foi quando a Aline ficou internada, as pessoas se afastam. Elas não querem problema seu, elas querem estar sorrindo e você com um copo de cerveja na mão dizendo oba-oba. Isso para mim não é um ser humano. Desculpa.
I'm a bit curious, how do you think if Amanda would have been here now and listened to things that we have been speaking so far, what would she have said now? Aline?
Eu acho que ela se sentiria desconfortável, porque também, né? Eu não sei como seria para ela, tá? Assim, fisicamente, se ela tivesse. Como que ela ficaria? Então, começaria o desconforto dela até, se ela me corrija se estiver errado. Pela nossa posição, eu acho que ela se sentiria envergonhada de ficar no centro. E acho que ela se sentiria mal porque ela voltaria sempre à questão. Tá, se a terapia também é para mim, por que que eu não estou conseguindo me sentir incluída? Então ela se sentiria muito desconfortável.
And do you think that she would also ask here and now why I'm not included?
Okay, I think we need to stop here because of the time to have at least some minutes for your questions or comments. So, this was it. Some questions or comments?
There in the back.
Hi. Can you hear? Okay. Sorry, very difficult question. You may have heard that there was a failure of applying open dialogue in my city, in New York City. It was an initiative called Parachute NYC. Did you hear about that?
Yes.
Okay. And so one of the things I'm thinking of, but many people said that it was set up to fail, that it was basically, they knew it wasn't going to be applied in